Hello, everyone. It is time for our big live batch cooking session. So I'm Holly from My Plant-Based Family, and right now we are in day 3 of the Next Step Challenge. So we created this challenge because we kept hearing from people who were just really struggling to go plant-based. Some were struggling because they didn't have any support, or others just didn't know where to start. Some people had no idea what to eat or how to change their cooking. So we came up with this idea to do the Next Step Challenge and incorporate a batch cook day to show you how we actually eat. Now, today we're cooking 6 recipes in as little time as possible. Oops, I forgot to preheat my oven. So let's get that going. I told everyone to make sure your oven's preheated, and I totally forgot. So that's okay, we have time. So we are gonna first do our sweet potatoes. We make a sweet potato that we all love. We make 2 pans because we usually finish the first one the first day just as they're cooling off, because everyone in my house, even my pickiest eater, loves these sweet potatoes. So if you have signed up for the Next Step Challenge, you will have gotten this info pack as a PDF. You can download it, you can print it. It's pretty thick, and that's because it has extremely helpful tips. It has our batch cook plan, so what we're gonna do today, and you can do this anytime on your own. You can always pull this video up and just kind of follow along. So if you are getting ready and you don't quite have everything ready yet, grab your sweet potatoes and wash them, because we're going to start on those really soon. And then we are going to make the rest of the recipes, but the first one's sweet potatoes. So if you don't have this and you want to sign up, it's not too late. Although there's not much time left, because I'm going to be taking this free info down soon. There is a clock on it. So you can download this when you sign up for the Next Step Challenge at myplantbasedfamily.com. All right, so as our oven preheats to 400 degrees, we are going to start in just a few minutes to peel and chop these sweet potatoes. And it's really important that you make sure you have enough room on your pan. So I'm going to use 2 really big pans, but if you're just one person and you're not sure if you really like making baked, cubed roasted sweet potatoes, you can just do 1. You can adapt any of this to fit your needs. If you hate sweet potatoes, then don't make them. Although you might like it this way. I definitely think it's worth trying. But this is our first big live batch cooking session. You know, things may go wrong, like not preheating the oven, but we're going to do our best to help you kind of see what goes into this so that we can help make it easier for you. So our setup today, I have my husband helping. He's going to come over occasionally and help with the chopping and cooking, because when we normally batch cook, we do it together and it goes so much faster if you have 2 people working together. And we also have a camera set up over here on the side so that hopefully you can see what's happening on the counter as much as possible. And it may be difficult to see everything because this is not a professional studio, but I do think it will be helpful. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to leave them in the comments and we will take a look. My husband, Jim, can see everything that's coming in, and we'll try to answer those questions. I'm going to take a quick break and just share this to the Facebook group, because we have a My Plant-Based Family Facebook group, and this group is kind of where a lot of the stuff is happening for the challenge. Now, everyone's not on Facebook, so we're also streaming to YouTube, and the people who aren't on Facebook are getting extra emails from me just to make sure they know everything that's going on. But you get an email every day or so at least to make sure you're staying in the challenge. So I am going to share this to our Facebook group real quick and make sure they don't miss anything. Okay, hopefully they got it. We will find out in a couple hours when we're done. So first things first, let's get started on these sweet potatoes. Put my info guide over here. My oven is preheating, but I noticed when we moved in this house about a year ago that my oven will say it's preheated and it's not really as hot as it's supposed to be. And that's because the thermostat is messed up. So I bought a small little $7 thermostat that I just have. So I will check it that way and make sure it's up to 400 degrees before we put these potatoes in. If you have problems with your oven and you feel like nothing ever comes out right, it's definitely worth it to invest in one of those. You'll be able to find it probably at any like hardware type store, but I got it on Amazon and it made the world of difference. And I found out after ruining a few banana breads because they didn't get cooked all the way. So what our plan is to start with the potatoes because they take about 40 minutes in the oven. Then we're going to do something in the Instant Pot. Then we're going to do a stovetop thing. Then we're going to do another oven thing. So we've kind of rotated it so that we always have what we need. You could definitely do it without an Instant Pot if you have a stove and an oven, but you can definitely adapt it to work for you. I also had one person email me that they didn't have an Instant Pot, and so I sent the recipes to them, the stovetop version. So that's you. You can send me an email, and I will send you more resources after we're done cooking today. So let's pull these out. Now I'm going to show you my pans. These are just like, I think it's a half sheet, maybe. I'm not really good with all the terminology, but I love them. And I bought them this summer because I wanted to be able to make sheet pan meals. And before I only had cookie sheets, and those cookie sheets didn't have edges, so you could really shake things around. And I like to cover mine with parchment paper because it makes cleanup easy and it doesn't stick, so we don't have to use oil. Okay. I'm just going to grab a cutting board and get everything we need. So we typically, like I said, do this together. So Jim is peeling the potatoes. I am going to dice them and put them on our cookie sheet. Closer to me. And this just helps the work go faster. I normally just season these with a little bit of salt. If you don't eat salt, that's totally fine. But we do. And another thing I've done is put like cinnamon or pumpkin spice flavors, and those are also good. It just makes it less versatile. So sometimes if we make a soup and we make it a little bit too spicy, like maybe the jalapeno was like off the charts and we weren't prepared for that, I will put some of these diced sweet potatoes in whatever soup, even if it doesn't seem like it would go. And it kind of helps make the spiciness of the soup go down. But we also will have them just as a side dish with a regular meal or like a veggie burger. Additionally, another way we would do it is just kind of have them for snacks or put them in a salad, which is what we're doing this week on the meal plan. So I am just going to cut these up. Sorry, this is loud. Hopefully my microphone is far enough away that it's not sounding like it's slamming. Okay. And these small ones, I'm just going to cut them in half because I want a piece that's about an inch. But if it's bigger or smaller, it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. So this is not something you stress about getting right, okay? If you watched my video for making the red lentil sauce for the spaghetti, you know I'm not going to stress about getting recipes right. So take a look at these. They're about, I would say, maybe an inch or so, maybe as wide as a quarter, some of them, others not so much, but it works. And depending on the size of your sweet potatoes, you'll get more or less, you know. That part's not rocket science, but you can do more or less depending on how much you like them, you and your family, and how many you want to eat in a week. So that timer claims that my oven is preheated. It's a lie. It is not preheated. Okay. So we washed these potatoes last night, but normally we wash them first. We have a little veggie scrubber. Now these potatoes, as they cook, they're going to get a little smaller. They'll shrink a little. And it almost seems like it's kind of dehydrating it a bit. That's what it looks like on the outside. But on the inside, it's glorious. And it's it kind of reminds me of like an old school gummy or like the Gushers candy. If anybody remembers those? Anyone else have a kind of childhood where you ate Gushers? And they were like soft but kind of firm on the outside, and then the inside was like liquid. So these aren't liquid, but they are really soft and sweet on the inside. And I always think of that when we're snacking on them. Okay, need to get to this. Slowing down. And I'm just putting these on one pan for now, but I'm going to divide that into 2 pans soon. We'll check this. Okay, does anybody think I'm going to cut myself here? That has been an ongoing discussion in my house the last 2 days, is do we need the first aid kit handy? For the record, I haven't done it yet today. Okay, I'm going to spread these out. And I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. So the first pan is full. And I like to put just a little bit of room in between them so that the air has room to circulate. Now they're going to shrink down. This is a giant piece. These are going to shrink down while they cook. So it's not like they're going to, it's not cookies. They're not going to spread out and take over. You don't have to worry about that. I just like there to be room. You grab the salt. And I'm just kind of lightly salting them. I'm not putting any oil. If your family is just hardcore into oil and they won't eat it unless it has it, you can put a little oil on here. But it doesn't really need it. You could even do like a light cooking spray. So I'm going to set these aside. Grab my other pan. And finish chopping these. Okay. All right, we've almost got these sweet potatoes done. Looks like we'll have a little extra room on this pan. I might scoot some of the others over. I I have to get any little imperfection off this potato or else my kids won't eat it. Like if they just don't want to see a hint of peel. Okay. Yeah, I'll steal a few off. Well, we'll wait till we get those cut off. I'm just going to rinse off this knife for the next recipe real quick. Okay. Take a look at this pan. Not supposed to eat those before we cook them. There's a few people in this house who like to snack on potatoes before they get cooked. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt again. And then I'm going to check my thermostat. It's really close to 400 degrees. I accidentally moved it over a little the other day when I was cleaning, so I can't quite see it without opening the oven door, which kind of defeats the purpose of it. Okay, so if you are cooking along, I hope that your sweet potatoes are done, are ready to go into the oven. I hope your oven's preheated. And I'm just going to do a little tidying up before I stick them in the oven. Okay. The next recipe we're going to do is our brown rice. So be ready for that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stick these in, and I just stick one on the top shelf and one on the bottom so that they're about in the middle of the oven. And then I try, if I think about it, I will rotate them, but I don't always think about it. But we'll see how that goes. Okay. Two. Okay, and I forgot to grab my timer, so I'm just going to set the timer on the oven. Actually, I'm going to set the timer on the microwave. And I'm setting this for 40 minutes. Now, they can be taken out a little earlier. We've experimented from 25 to 40. 35 is really good as well, but we've just kind of settled on 40 works for us. So if you're short on time or you like them a little less cooked, then you can definitely do it for a little less. So now I'm going to grab the Instant Pot, and we are going to start our Instant Pot brown rice. Now I am going to cook this on this back counter because I don't really have room here with our camera equipment, but I'm going to do it right here so that you can see everything going in. It's super simple. Like, there's not much easier. You'll find this recipe in our info pack, and let me show you what that's going to look like. Can you not undo the double there?
Sorry.
So in this recipe, we are going to use this one recipe for brown rice in two different things. So we're going to cook the brown rice plain, and then when it's done, we're going to take half of it out and set it aside. That rice is going to be used later in the week in a stir fry on our meal plan. You could use it on anything if you just want a side dish. If you want to transform it, steam some broccoli, make some dairy-free cheese sauce. You can make broccoli rice. That way, there's just a lot of different things. But we're going to do half of it plain for a stir fry, and the other half is going to be transformed into our breakfast rice. If you have the info pack, both recipes, you'll have the batch cooking version, and then you'll have just a version if you were wanting to just cook every day. We're trying to get away from that just because we work a lot and we don't always have the time or energy to cook every day. So that's why this is going to be a lot of rice. And this is for us, for a household of 4 who are going to use this in 2 separate recipes. So I'm going to grab my brown rice. And I also filled up a pitcher of water so I wasn't constantly running to the sink, so you didn't have to hear the water all the time. Okay. So this recipe calls for 4 cups of brown rice. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say debate, there's a lot of ways to make rice. If you saw that viral video of a lady making rice and then some other people like kind of roasting her for it because she put it into a colander. So I've learned there's not necessarily one right way to do things, but the way I do it is I typically add a lot of water. I still use the evaporation method, so there's no water left when you're done. But when I'm cooking this for 2 recipes and 1 recipe needs it to be much softer, I'm gonna use a little bit more water than some people would use. If you like your rice more firm, you don't have to use as much water, but I'm gonna use 4 cups of rice and 6 cups of water. Almost 1 cup. Now, if I was making just the breakfast rice, I would use like twice as much water as rice. But I'm kind of looking for a happy medium. So I'm gonna just use a medium amount of water. So here's my rest of my 1st cup. Some people also will soak their rice and rinse their rice, and I'm not doing that. This seems like so much rice. It's gonna basically, I normally don't make quite this much, but we've got a plan. We're gonna stick to it. So if you are a person who likes to wash or rinse your rice, you can take a break and go ahead and do that, but we're just gonna keep going. Now I'm gonna add my water. That's 2 cups. 4 cups. And 6 cups. And I usually will just give this a little stir. And then I have to put the lid on. Now, just a second, I need my sealing ring. So last night I made oatmeal, as I have done hundreds, if not more times. And I switched out my sealing ring and I forgot to put a new one in. So it still cooked my oatmeal, but it made a big mess. So I had to clean all of that up. So I am just pushing this in. I should say I'm attempting to push this in. I want to make sure that it's done properly or else this pot will not come to pressure. This is the kind of thing you're supposed to do ahead of time. My goal in life is to make my husband laugh. As long as I got that, I'm good. Okay. So the sealing ring is in. I am going to put this on. I'm not used to doing it backwards. And this is the little seal. Now, I'm going to turn it to sealing because I may not remember. And then I'm going to close it. And if it was plugged in, it would make a cute little robot noise. But we're going to move it to this back wall and plug it in. Thank you. And I cook brown rice for 22 minutes. That's just my standard. Some people cook it less, some people cook it more. I feel like that's a happy medium. And the rice comes out how I like it. If you like it different, you can do yours different. I'm not saying this is the right way. I'm just saying this is the way we do it. So I press manual on my Instant Pot, and I'm going to go down to 22 minutes. If you have a newer Instant Pot, because I bought this one in 2014, if you have a newer Instant Pot, you are going to press pressure cook instead. The buttons do the same thing. So I'm just going to keep it there. Normally, I like to have it on the island so that there's less stuff around it, but it will be safe and fine just right there. And later when it's done, it might take 20, 30 minutes to come to pressure, and then it'll cook for 22 minutes. Then we'll need to let the pressure come down, and that can take a while. We'll get to that when we get to it. And we didn't rehearse this, so we don't know how the timing is going to work for everything. We're just kind of hoping it all works out. And it's food. We don't need to be stressed about this. You know, this food isn't very important, but it's not something that I want to get too worked up about. Okay, so that was our second recipe that we are cooking this morning. Just wipe up the water I spilled. And the next thing we are going to go to is our veggie soup. Ooh, this one's a good one. If you haven't made this recipe yet, you're missing out. We love it. We make it a lot. So I'm just going to put the recipe here. My husband is about to come up and help me because this is one that requires a lot of chopping. So I am going to grab the stuff from the fridge. We're going to get our knives, our cutting boards. We have a big pot that we use, and we're just going to get going. Get your veggies. And are the carrots?
The carrots are in, they're wrapped up in.
Oh, perfect. Ah!
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right. Am I forgetting something? Okay. All right. I need to get my cutting board. I will just use the big one. And my knife is right here. Okay. You just rearrange a few things. So this recipe, hold on, I'm almost ready. This recipe came about because I wanted a good veggie soup, as did my husband. He wanted beans in his soup, and I thought it was really weird to have black beans in veggie soup. To me, they just didn't fit. But I wanted also it to be a really hearty soup. So I was like, fine, I'll go along with the black beans, but we're putting potatoes in it. So it ended up being this really delicious hearty veggie soup that we absolutely love. So I'm going to start cutting up the onion. I will probably cry. Can't help it. He is cutting up the broccoli is the other thing I missed. Okay. He's going to cut up the broccoli, and we're just going to get it going. And you can do, if you like really small pieces of veggies cut, you can do it that way. If you don't mind big hunks of veggies, you can do it that way too. There's not really a wrong way. There's just one way you have to do it.
We like big hunks of veggies.
And when I'm cooking this by myself and don't have help, a lot of times I'll start with the onions and then I'll turn those on low while I start cutting up the next thing. And then everything I add is just already starting to cook a little bit. And I like doing that because it smells glorious. My eyes are already getting a little bit into the crying stage.
You want me to take it?
No. They want to see me cry. I know there's tips to not cry, but I haven't tried any of them. I just cry. So this one I did pretty big hunks. Now we're making a lot of soup because we are going to be eating this throughout the week. And one of the ways that we do it is we'll have it for lunch, or have it with lunch and a salad, or have it for dinner and, you know, maybe have something else too. We just like to kind of mix and match it throughout the week. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm going to rinse off my cutting board. Okay, let's take a look at the recipe and see what else. So I did the onions. I still need to do the garlic. I realized that if you're trying to cook along with us, you may not have 2 people, so you may be going a little slower, but also you're probably not narrating the whole way, so that really slows you down. I don't normally talk as much while I cook, but a lot of times we do sing. We normally have a Hamilton playlist going, or I have a playlist I made called like the fun playlist or something, and it has a lot of like 70s and 80s rock. Or sometimes we have worship music. It just kind of depends what we're in the mood for and, you know, how long we're going to take, but that's always a lot of fun. But we did not put music on because we don't want video to get banned for copyright violation. So you can use whole garlic here. I think I said use 2 cloves maybe, but anytime I do that because some people don't like garlic. I love garlic. It's just, I could almost wear it as a perfume. I love garlic so much. But I know, I'm crazy. So if you don't love garlic, you don't have to use it, or you can just use a little. Garlic is great for you. But lately I've been using a minced garlic from the store, and it's just really easy to use and it smells good. So instead of cutting up garlic, I'm going to use some of this. And I also personally, I'm just going to kind of double what I said to do because
Because you can.
I can. And I guess I just don't like following the rules sometimes. I am a rule follower in general, but when it comes to cooking, I don't know if it's a rule thing. It's more of, I have trouble following a recipe because I always want to change it, which makes it really easy to create recipes because I don't feel bound by what the recipe tells me to do. But at the same time, it's hard to make things come out the same way because I don't always remember what I did. So I'm going to put this away. All right. We also, as I mentioned, have potatoes in this soup, and we don't peel them, primarily because it takes more time. So I'm just going to cube them similar to what I did with the sweet potatoes. Ooh, that's slippery, but I did not get close to cutting myself. this cutting board doesn't have much traction. Now, instead of worrying about following the soup for a certain number of servings, we just try to make as much as we can fit in our soup pot. And then that's how much we make. If we finish and it's like, oh, we could have fit more food in there, then we'll just add more, you know. And we also will make this based on what we have. So if we're out of broccoli, that's fine. If we forget to put potatoes, which we do like every other time we make it, that's fine. Sometimes we'll just add some of the sweet potatoes that we've cooked. Or I'll add leftover rice just to kind of bulk it up a little. There's not really a wrong way to do this. If you only have one carrot, you can just do that. We do whatever we want. If you don't have black beans, we've used red beans. We've used white beans. And you also, if you can't cut, like maybe you have arthritis and it's hard to like wash and cut veggies, you can use a bag of frozen soup veggies. Like you can get those for $1, $2, and it's still just as good for you. It's not cheating. It's almost like kind of being a little bit smarter, but I kind of like to cut veggies. It's kind of therapeutic when I'm not injuring myself. And it's something that we do together, so we enjoy it. Because normally it's not just me talking. We're both flirting with each other the whole time and singing.
A lot of singing.
Yeah, we're pretty ridiculous. We're being very well behaved right now. Okay, we're almost done with this potato. And like I mentioned, a lot of times I will just kind of already have this on the stove and I'll cut stuff up and put it in, cut stuff up and put it in. But for today, it's not as easy. And when we're cooking together, it's easier just to have the pot between us because then we don't have to move around as much. So now that I've got these veggies, the last thing I have is green beans. And we just bought some frozen green beans to pour in here. So I'm going to grab those. So I've got a funny story about these green beans. So these are just from our local Fry's. And they're just plain green beans. They're in a steamable bag, which I never use. But we ordered these from through Instacart because, as you may know, our son is a cancer survivor, and he just finished chemo in May, at the end of May. And so we are still staying pretty quarantined. We're not going out. Like, we don't want a chance, just with him having a compromised immune system. We don't want to take any chances there. So we order our groceries. We don't really go to the grocery store. So I ordered one bag of frozen green beans, and they brought me 3. So we're going to be finding ways to use green beans like for the next couple of weeks. We like green beans. It's just not something we normally eat that much of. It's usually for soups. So, and the recipe says to use a cup. If you're using canned green beans, you can pour the whole can in there, just drain them. But I'm just going to pour some in. And that's, I think, close. Okay. Now we have a few more things that we're going to put in here. And that is we have 2 canned items. We like to, as I mentioned, put black beans and our red diced tomatoes. I like to get petite diced tomatoes because it's easier to fit it in the bowl or more in your spoon when you're eating it. So that's what we're going to have. And did you want to do this? Oh, yay. All right. Yeah, because we still need to drain these too. So we do drain and rinse the black beans. The diced tomatoes, I just pour in. Now, if you do not like using canned veggies, that's fine. You don't have to. Last week, I made a big pot of black beans, in my Instant Pot, and we ate those throughout the week. I just want to make it more accessible for everyone that maybe you aren't going to have time to batch cook. So I'm just going to pour this in, and then we're going to drain and rinse these black beans. I didn't want to do it ahead of time because I didn't want to do a ton of stuff ahead of time, and then you didn't know to do that ahead of time, and it makes it go behind us too much. So just 1 second. I don't know if you can hear this. I can hear my Instant Pot coming to pressure right now. So it sounds almost like steam or like the start of boiling. And in a second, it'll, like right now it says on the front. I'm sure you can't see it. But in a minute, it'll start to count. It'll beep and it'll start to count down. So it's getting really loud, so you know it's coming to pressure. So you'll hear that in a second. Thank you. And so the beans have been drained and rinsed. I'm just going to pour those in. Sometimes we'll do 2 cans of beans. We don't always use 1 because it just gives us more like bulk, more fiber. It makes it go an extra couple of meals. And so this pot now has everything in there except the water and or veggie broth. Now, I don't buy like the jarred or canned or packaged veggie broth. I have one of 2 options. I'll either use my dry veggie broth mix that you've seen on my blog. It's been copied by a lot of people because it's so good. Like everybody has their own spin on it. You can use any of those. Whoever's version you like, that's the one you can use. Just for simplicity's sake today, I am going to use a store-bought version that my friend Anne shared with me, and she sent me some to try, and I have not stopped buying it since then because it's just so easy and it doesn't take up a lot of space. Like when I make my big veggie broth, I do it in a big jar, and that just takes up a lot more space. Thank you, darling. Okay. So I normally will just carry this to the sink and basically fill it up, but I'm just going to pour the rest of this water I have in there, and then I'll get some more. You can measure out your water if you want, but I just know I need a pot full of water, so I'm not going to. I am going to go grab some more water right now. Sound of the water filling up reminds me of when you hear stories of people who are wearing a lapel mic like this and they go to the restroom and forget to turn their mic on. I assure you, it's just water from the sink. I'm good to go. Okay, so I'm going to just basically fill the pot up with water to where it's covering the veggies. And this will be probably about 1.5 inches from the top for me. And then I'm going to add my veggie broth mix here. Now this calls for like a teaspoon for every cup of water, which is very standard for broth mixes. My homemade one, it's a tablespoon per cup, but that's because it's not broke down as fine. Like if you put it in a blender and like really pulverize it, then you can use a teaspoon because that's just, you can fit more in a smaller space.
Can you toss me that?
What?
The veggie broth.
Oh. I need it right now, but
Oh.
tell you what, we'll show it to you in just a minute. Let me get it in here so we can get this cooking. So I am just gonna, I kind of guesstimate. If you need an exact amount, you'll need a teaspoon for every cup of water, and you probably measured your water. You don't necessarily have to use this. I have no idea how much I just put in, but later I'm going to taste it, and if it seems like it needs more, I'm going to add more, and if it seems like it's too seasoned, then it'll just be seasoned. So I'll just show this close, and then I'll hand it to my husband and he will type it in. So that's what it looks like. We can share a link later also. Okay. Now I'm going to put this on the stove, and then I'm just going to stir it around and mix it. And turn it on to medium. Try not to spill any of it since it's so full. Right now, the broccoli's floating. I know you really wanted to watch me cook from behind, but that's where my stove is. Okay. That is pretty mixed up for now. I'm gonna set it aside. Our sweet potatoes have about 11.5 minutes left, so I'm just gonna tidy this up again. And I've noticed in some videos that I make, I'll just be like throwing things right here, and it looks like I'm just throwing them on the floor, but that's where we keep our trash can. I always laugh when I see that because it looks like I'm just tossing things on the floor like a mad woman. Okay. So we have made our roasted sweet potatoes. Those are almost done. We have got our instant pot brown rice started, and it's probably going to be, it'll simmer for a long time, just until everything's soft. You can tell when the potatoes and carrots are soft and it's done. But next, we are going to make our big baked oatmeal. This is a really good one. So if you have tried my regular baked oatmeal, I have a lot of versions, and I just don't always put them all on my blog because they're so similar. But this is just, ooh, we love it. So it's going to be made in a big 9x15 pan, and it's very versatile as well. So if you love nuts and seeds in your oatmeal, or like in granola bar type things, then you can put nuts and seeds in this. But if you can't have those, then you can omit it. You don't need them. They add crunch. They add, more fiber and protein if you're really into paying attention to that. They also add more fat. But, we're raising 2 little boys, and they love these. So one more than the other, but it depends on what all we put in. So we just kind of mix it up each time, and we'll also change out the fruit. So this needs 2 cups of fruit. And like the one pictured, if you have the recipe book from the info pack, I had an apple, a peach, and blueberries mixed together, and just use however much you have to make 2 cups. If you only have blueberries, you can use those. If you only have apples, if you only have frozen fruit, you can use that. Just let it defrost, because 2 cups of frozen fruit is not the same thing as 2 cups of defrosted fruit. You're going to need a little bit more. But it's very versatile and it's very delicious. And I'm going to start mixing it up. We're going to put it in the oven when the sweet potatoes come out. But it'll take longer than that to get ready. But I want to remind you now, hopefully we both remember, to downgrade the heat a little bit on the oven, because potatoes are cooking at 400 and this big baked oatmeal only needs to be at 350. Will not be the end of the world. You're not going to ruin anything if you forget, but it might cook a little bit quicker and it might get a little crispier than it otherwise would. So to get out those ingredients. And I'm going to need more water. And I'm going to get a drink of water, because it's important to drink your water, Jim's getting a drink of water now too. Don't forget, when you're batch cooking, this is work. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You need to wear supportive, comfortable shoes, comfortable clothes. You got big mop of hair like me, you want to get out of the way, or else you'll have hair in all your food. This is just practical, helpful advice that I'm giving you. I got lots of practical, helpful advice. Don't forget to drink your water. Okay, Now, the very first thing you need to do when you make this recipe is start your flax eggs. Flax eggs sounds a little ridiculous. Never seen a flax that could lay an egg, and we don't eat animals, but okay. Flax eggs they come from flax seeds. And about once a week or whenever I need to, I put a bunch of flax seeds in my blender, in my Blendtec. Love that thing. Had it for years. And we blend them. It takes, I don't know, maybe 15 seconds. I don't think that long. And then it makes what looks like beach sand. And I put it in this little shaker, and we keep it on the counter so that we can remember to use it whenever we have something that could use some. I could put it in anything and everything, but I typically mostly put it in oatmeal, in smoothies, anything I bake, stuff like that. So these take a little while to set up. So we're gonna do this first. And to make the flax eggs, you need just ground flax seeds and water. So I am gonna pour, you know what, I don't even know if this bowl is gonna be big enough, but we'll see. It won't be the end of the world, we'll get through it. Okay. This is kind of like packed in there with the old fashioned way. If you ever had an old TV, that's how you fix things. Child of the 80s, okay. So I'm gonna put 4 spoonfuls, I'm gonna break down those chunks a little. 4 tablespoons. Now, this oatmeal would probably be fine if you skip this, if you don't have it, or if you want to use an egg replacer. It would be okay, I'm certain. I haven't tried it without it because I'm always looking for more ways to get flax seeds into my diet because they're so good for you. But you don't want the whole ones because those are just gonna pass right through you. More helpful advice. Okay. And start grabbing the rest of my things. All right. So now that we got the flax seeds in here, we want to add our water. And yeah, I'm certain this bowl's not big enough, but I'm going to just go for it. I'm not going to fix my mistake now when it's convenient. I'm just going to go with it. So now I just need to add the 12 tablespoons of water. You know what? I've already lost count. Oh, I think I got just enough room. Okay. And I'm just going to stir this up a little. Now, I wouldn't say it's a love-hate relationship with flax eggs. I would say we are just getting to know each other because sometimes they just don't set up well for me. I've experimented with cold water, warm water, putting them in the fridge, leaving it on the counter. And sometimes it feels like it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I think maybe it's because sometimes I work really quickly and other times like today, I don't. So those are, okay, it looks good. I'm just gonna set this over here and clean up my counter a little bit. Okay, now we are gonna get everything mixed together. And I have a sticky note reminding me to get my applesauce and to get my fruit. Okay, now I am using a big bowl because this is going to make a lot of stuff. And I don't use oil. I don't cook with oil. There's a few things where I will need something to not stick, like if I'm making pancakes or muffins or even this big baked oatmeal where I will use a tiny bit of spray oil and then I'll just like rub it around the pan. And that is enough to where I'm not really getting a lot of fat from the oil. I'm not using oil that's not going to give me any like health benefits, but it will just keep things from sticking. but I don't use it as like a main ingredient in my cooking. Instead, a lot of the time I use applesauce, and this is just an unsweetened applesauce that we bought at the store. Now I have a video that we have recorded and edited and just not uploaded where I talk about what to do if you don't have applesauce. So I'll let you in on a little secret here. You can just put an apple in a blender and boom, you have applesauce. I know, so easy, so full of knowledge. So you can definitely do that. But you don't have to stop with just apples. You can do it with a pear. You can do it with a peach. You can do it with lots of things. So I happen to have applesauce, so I am going to go ahead and use that. I'm also going to pull my recipe a little bit closer to me because I will forget something. You may have noticed that I am really good at forgetting things. So I put everything in my pan last night so that I would not forget, but I probably still will. Okay, I need a cup. Let's see, use this one. Now this recipe uses a lot of measuring spoons and cups, and when you're cooking like a bunch of recipes, you don't want to. Normally we'll just wash it and use it again, but it's a little bit harder when you are, you know, cooking for hours. So I'm using a cup of applesauce, unsweetened. If you don't have it, put a couple apples in a blender. Okay, and just gonna pour it in. All right. I'll stick this back in the fridge because it takes up too much room to be left out. And next we are going to just kind of keep going with some of our wet ingredients. I'm going to use vanilla. I'll often leave vanilla out because I don't always have it, and it doesn't make that big of a difference. Let's see, here's a teaspoon. But if you have it and you want to use it, use it. If you don't have it or don't want to, skip it. Done. Look at us marking things off our list. Okay, next we're going to use salt. And oops, I just hit my camera. Sorry. I'm just going to use this. It's real salt, Redmond's real salt. And I met the company, some people from the company years ago at a conference, and they were like, taste this and let me know what you think. Is it better? And it definitely is better. Oh, you hear that? That is our baked sweet potatoes. Let's check them out. I'm going to grab a fork because I am in charge of quality control. Okay. I just like to make sure these are good. I'm just blowing on a little bit. Feels soft. Fork went in easy. In a minute, I'm going to burn my mouth eating this too soon, but I'm going to wait just another minute so it's not permanently damaged. Somebody has to be in charge of quality control. And in our house, we have a saying that, and it came back from years when my parents would check my Halloween candy, and they'd have to say they have to check it to make sure it's not poison. You know, I'm sure everybody did that, you know. And I would, and they didn't just like look at it to check it, they had to eat it to check it. I proudly carried on the same tradition with my kids. I remember when I met Jim, he had 3 kids. And a couple of years later, in our first year of trick-or-treating, they were just going to start eating candy. And he's like, no, we got to check it. And I'm like, oh, I'll check it. So I got to carry on the tradition. Okay. It's hot, but it's not hurting me. They're perfect. Feel a little dryish on the outside, which is because we don't use oil. Inside, they're really warm. Taste great. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to take those out. Still haven't put my salt in, but I haven't forgotten that. I am also going to put a lid on my soup to help trap the heat in. Okay. I have a couple of turbettes set up over here kind of out of sight. And that is what where I'm going to put them. I try to be really careful getting things out of the oven. Okay. All right, so those are out of the oven. They're good. They're just going to be cooling off to the side. Normally about this time, our kids would be coming in and one pan would magically disappear as we test quality control. However, they have been persuaded to hang out in the other room. I'm also going to change the temperature down to 350. I mean, it's still, it's probably not going to get all the way down to 350, but it'll be fine, okay? So, and boom, it's preheated. It'll start cooling off. Okay. So as I mentioned, sorry, I gotta pull my pants up all the time because none of them fit. Salt is where we were, and we were gonna use a ½ teaspoon of sea salt. I have experimented with some of my recipes on my plant-based family that are similar and not use salt because I don't think we necessarily always need it. However, I've had people say, this needs salt, so use salt. So I'm gonna use salt too, but just a little. I mean, this would be like a pinch per serving. So, all right, we're done with the salt. We're gonna just give it a little stir. And then next we are gonna do maple syrup. Now, I'm a bit of a budget shopper, but I also think it's important to have real maple syrup, which is sealed because I just bought it. If you don't like maple syrup, you could use sugar. If you don't like sugar and you don't like maple syrup, you can use date paste. And if you don't do maple syrup or sugar, then you probably already know how to make date paste, so I'm not going to explain that. But if you're interested in it, you just put water on dates to rehydrate them, and then you puree them. And cooking for my family, I'm going to lick my fingers a little bit. Wouldn't do that if I was cooking for anybody else. Okay. And we need ½ cup. I'm going to put this lid back on. I've had a lot of my recipes, I try to do like the minimum amount of sweetener that I think people will like. However, there's always some people who are like, oh, I have this sweetener and it was perfect. So if you want to have the sweetener, I'm sure it will be perfect. Stir that around. I'm going to check on my chia seeds. It's getting a little goopy. You can't really see that with my arm in the way, but it's getting a little goopy there. So that's good. I'm going to put this in the sink because it's so messy. And set that out of the way. What is next? Okay, next is cinnamon. This is so good with cinnamon, but you know what it's also good with? Pumpkin spice, baby. So today, I like to mix it up. Sometimes I do cinnamon, sometimes I do pumpkin spice, sometimes I forget and don't put any of that kind of thing in. We're gonna do pumpkin spice today. So, how much? Can't remember. You can see it on my list. Going blind. Okay, cinnamon, 1 teaspoon. Just gonna use my salt. So I use ½ teaspoon of salt. So to use my ½ teaspoon thing again, I'm just gonna use the 2 in there. Still following the recipe technically, even though I'm using a different ingredient. It's okay, it'll be fine. All right, I'm gonna stir that in a little. And then we are gonna add our fruit. Now remember, as I mentioned earlier, but if you're just joining us, I'll say it again, use 2 cups of fruit. So you can use however much you want. What I do is I cut up my apple first, because I like to use that as the main base because we always have apples. And then I will fill in the gaps with whatever else. So if you're using an apple and a peach, that might be close to 2 cups, but you might need a little more, then add some blueberries. So we're just gonna do apples and blueberries today. That's our plan. And I'm using a really big Honeycrisp apple. I'm going to grab a little cutting board. You got it all cleaned off ready for me. Now, I will usually kind of halfway slightly peel this for my kids' sake to where it doesn't have all the peels, but it has some of them. And I keep them in fairly big chunks. Our Instant Pot brown rice is done. Okay, it's done beeping at us too. So that Instant Pot is going to need to just chill for a sec, as I say to my kids. But I am going to, hold on, move that over there. So remember this applesauce measuring cup from earlier? I'm just going to kind of use that to measure my fruit because I don't want to get more measuring cups dirty. I only have like 3 sets, so we'll run out if I am not careful. And I'm using a Honeycrisp apple. You can use whatever you want to use. Whatever's on sale this week is a good choice. This one was not on sale, but my kids requested it. And generally, if my kids request something healthy, I mostly get it. Unless it's crazy expensive, then I'll say maybe next time. Depending, who knows. Pretty cavalier when it comes to my groceries. Well, my lovely assistant is going to come help. You can just move it right up there. There you go. And throw these away. Want the smaller knife?
Nope.
So he is going to continue to cut that for me so I can chat. I'm also going to check on our soup. And there's not a lot of room in here, which means we're going to be eating good this week. Smell those onions. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick little recap. We are right now on our, I think, 4th recipe for today. So we're making the Baked Oatmeal, and we are done with the baked sweet potatoes. They are perfect. Let me show you a few of these up close. So I don't flip them or anything, so sometimes they get a little brown, but they're really good. Super, super good. Let me rip one of these back ways open. I don't know if you can even tell anything because I don't know if you can tell how like moist that is inside. It's just glorious. I'm gonna take some quality control measures in my hands. So those are done. And this week we're gonna use those for side dishes, and we can throw them in a salad. We have a really good recipe I've never shared on my blog for a black bean sweet potato salad. That might be its name. I don't remember. I'm not really good at coming up with names. Well, if it makes sense to anybody else. We've got our brown rice done cooking, letting the pressure come down in the Instant Pot. We will check on that next after we're done with this big baked oatmeal. We've got our Hearty veggie soup on the stove cooking. And it's going to be lovely. Okay. So,
Go ahead.
no, that's okay. So my lovely assistant, Jen, is cutting up these apples for me. And the goal of this, like I got a big apple, so it would be about a cup or a little more. Grab those. Now I'm going to show you. So this is like the diced apples. Like it's pretty full. Like it's kind of heaping a little. That's great. If you have more, you can put more in. If you don't have to. And now I'm going to do the blueberries. He's going to cut up. There's a little bit of apple left. He's going to cut that up.
and sample it.
Yeah, and definitely make sure it's good. So normally when we're cooking, we like to sample all the raw ingredients just to make sure they're up to our quality control standards, because that's really important. But it sounds like I'm joking, but really, like one day I don't know what we were cutting up, maybe carrots. And we were going to put them in something, and it was just a bad carrot. It looked perfect, but it did not taste perfect. And we were like, oh, throw that away and do not mix it in with anything else. So I'm going to just use the same measuring cup. We already washed these. You can flip that so you can see them. Oh, and I try to make sure I get all the stems off the blueberries. Throw them on the counter where they are out of sight. Okay, I think I saw that stem go in. I mean, we're not going to be injured by a little stem, but nobody wants to eat stems in their food, right? Okay. Don't forget to drink your water. I'm drinking some right now. Okay, so we've got that fruit, and we've got 2 cups of fruit. I'm just gonna stir it all in. Now we're gonna start adding some of the main, kind of bulky dry ingredients. And that is gonna be our baking soda and our rolled oats, because we've already used the others. So let's see, our baking soda, we need 1 teaspoon. I've got one right here. Most of my measuring spoons are so old that you can't read what they are anymore, but I know, so it's okay. All right, I'm just gonna measure that off and pour it in. And I'm going to grab these extra ingredients that I don't need and just put them away. So I got the baking soda in there. Now I'm going to add the rolled oats. And this calls for 3.5 cups. So stir that. Now we use gluten-free oats. You can use whatever kind of oats, but we just make sure you're using old-fashioned rolled oats. That's 2 cups. Paying attention this time because I lose track easy. That's 3 cups. And then I am going to just do another half right there. But these oats are like the big flat flakes. It works perfect in this recipe. I'm going to mix it in. I'm also now going to add my flax eggs. They are, as you can see, pretty interesting looking, little goopy. It's kind of the word we use for it. They're still liquid on top, but this is fine. This is going to work. And I just pour it all over. Now you use flax eggs also to be kind of like a binder, to keep everything stuck together, but I just mostly want to use it for the health benefits. And now I'm going to give it another stir. Okay, when I get this in the oven, I'm going to see if anybody has any questions on anything we've covered so far or about the challenge. So make sure you leave those in the comments because I would love to be able to help you. Now, when you look at this here, it's like, kind of looks like granola, and you could probably cook it like granola just like this. But now we need to add our rice milk. Let me grab that. Now, our family uses rice milk because years ago, when we switched off of dairy milk, we loved almond milk. And we had a little store near us that had their own store brand that was our favorite. But then our son, our youngest, he had a lot of food sensitivities and allergies. And one of those was to nuts. And so we just thought it was best to just not use any nuts at all in the house. And so we stopped using almond milk and started using rice milk. And we stayed with it, even though if we were just drinking milk, this might not be our favorite one to drink, but it doesn't have a strong taste. So it works perfect in like cereal. It also works perfect in baking. Like you're not getting any kind of overwhelming, like, oh, is that coconut? Or is that almond? Or is that something else? It's just plain good old rice milk. So that's what we use. And we are going to use a cup of this. Splashing. Okay. Now I have another bowl I normally use. It's a bit of a wider bowl, but I'm using this one because it's kind of see-through. I thought it might give you a better angle to see what's happening. I can hear my soup boiling. I'm going to turn it down because it just needs to simmer. It doesn't need to boil. I'll check on it again a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to just stir this rice milk in a little. And I'm stirring, I guess, gently enough that I'm not trying to like burst every blueberry in here, but they will burst when they are cooking. I just want to let the liquid kind of get absorbed into those oats. So that's stirred in pretty good. And I'm just going to let it sit. And when we're cooking this, we're cooking it at home now, but when we're cooking this not with all of you, we will usually just let it sit for like 10 minutes and just kind of let those oats absorb the rice milk a little bit more. But we are not going to take that time today. So I'm just going to move a few things over, and then I'm going to pour this into the baking dish. Okay. Here we go. So here's the baking dish I mentioned. It's 9 by 15. And I also mentioned earlier that we don't cook with oil, but we will use oil to keep things from sticking. So this is how I do it. I spray a little bit of cooking oil, and then I kind of just rub it around the pan. And then sometimes I'll also get like a paper towel and I'll rub that around. And it still leaves the oily residue without leaving a bunch of oil in there. So this probably wouldn't be as big of a deal. You could use parchment, I'm sure. I mostly use it for like muffin tins or like a banana bread where you need it to come out and you can't really fit parchment. So I pour this in. This looks so good. Now remember, if you wanted to use nuts and seeds, you could add those in real quick before you pour it in the pan. Or what we've also done is just sprinkle some on top. But today, I am not. Okay. So it's in the pan. And I think you can all see it. I'm just going to put it around, flatten it out gently. If you have time to let it sit and soak a little bit, you can do that. I always feel like all my blueberries kind of end up in the corner. So I'm just sticking them more into the middle, and then I'm flattening it out again. So from here, if you want to change this up a little, sprinkle on some pecans or pumpkin seeds or hemp seeds. Okay, that is stirred in pretty good.
9 by 13 or 9 by 15?
Oh, 9 by 15, I believe. I have a tape measure. I could measure it, but it's like a Pyrex pan that comes with a lid. So it's really handy because after it cools off, we can put the lid on and just stick it in the fridge for storage, and we don't have to transfer it to another container or anything. And that's why we started doing it in this pan, because I used to do smaller ones in a 9 by 9, And they're just, we eat those too fast. They're still good, but it's just, this is better because one of the great things about this recipe is that I'm going to use it for a quick breakfast if I'm in a hurry and or, you know, sometimes you just feel like you need to eat, like you're like, whoa, I don't feel good, I need some food, but you were too busy because you were always too busy in the mornings. This is a really great quick breakfast. Or if you hit that mid-afternoon time and you're like, oh, I'm in a slump, I don't want to reach for something else, so I'm going to have this. It's perfect. Or if you're like me and Jim, to where we're at night, we're like, feel a little snackish, then this is something that's perfect for being a little snackish. So let me put this in the oven. That's probably about 350 degrees. And then I'm going to set a timer for 40 minutes, I think. 45. 40 is probably fine, but yeah. I mean, there's no eggs or dairy or anything like that. And my oven was right about 350. So let me just clear a few of these things out of the way. Okay. And then do we have questions? Because I can't see any on my screen. I don't know if I can.
No current questions.
Okay. Andy said pumpkin seed sounds good.
Yeah.
They definitely are. And yeah, it's funny. I see all these questions now, or these things now, that I didn't see before. Let me just take a look. I'm seeing that a lot of you can understand, empathize, enjoy our sampling. Your family's the same way. And yep, this video will be available later. I don't plan to take it down. So Kathy loves my dry veggie broth mix. I'm so glad you do, Kathy. I'll show you my big jar for it. This is mine. We love it. I always have some handy. It's good on so many things. I'll even just use it as a seasoning on like potatoes and stuff. Okay. Nancy, yeah, this will stay up. You'll be able to keep seeing it. Okay, we are going to start doing the rest of the brown rice recipe in a minute. I see that Nathalie is making the same stuff. She's got her sweet potatoes in the oven. Her soup is on the stove. She's got oatmeal, rice. That's so awesome. I'm so glad that you're doing this along with us. Okay. Kathy has her big jar too. People love that broth mix. I'm telling you, it's good stuff. So Jim just let the pressure down from the Instant Pot so that we could open the lid, because as you know, when it's under pressure, you can't open it. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take half of it out and put it in another container. So I'm going to grab that container right now. I just grabbed a big Pyrex bowl. And I'm grabbing my favorite Pampered Chef. It's like I think it's called a scoop and stir, maybe. One of you will know, but my friend Ann Herring sent this to me a long time ago. And I love it. Anything in the Instant Pot, this is my go-to. And it's perfect because you can have all the benefits of like a spatula, but it's also easy to pull things out. So I'm going to, Jim opened the Instant Pot for us. I am going to take the lid off and then just bring it over here so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to drink some water, so everybody needs to drink water. Okay. So this rice looks perfect. I hope it is perfect. When I look at something and I'm like, oh, that looks good, it makes me think of like cartoons I saw when I was a kid, to where somebody would like something would look like, I don't know, like some big beautiful thing, and then they'd go to touch it, and it would just, the air would come out. I don't know. My mind works in mysterious ways. So anyway, I'm going to take about half of this rice out, and I'm just kind of cutting it down the middle in half to make sure. Okay. Oh man, this is so good. I don't know if you can see this. I mean, obviously it's really hot, but it's like perfect. If I was making this to eat it right now, I would just like fluff it in here, but I'm not going to eat it right now. Oh, it smells so good. So I have learned since I started making YouTube videos like a little less than 2 months ago that when you're making something and it smells good, don't smell it because you look like an imbecile smelling things that nobody else can smell. You just look strange, like a weirdo. Does anybody notice that when you see people smell things on videos? Please tell me I'm not the only one. Okay, I'm so glad I picked this container because it is gonna fill it up. Now, if you love brown rice, my daughter, Ashley, I know you're probably working right now. She loves rice. This is perfect. So Ashley, get out your Instant Pot and make some of this. She loves rice and tofu. And I'm just kind of taking my time being careful because this is super hot. I'm a bit on the accident prone side. So I really don't want to hurt myself with all of you watching. That would be bad. Okay. So as I am carefully getting this rice out of here, the rest of it's going to be used for breakfast rice. This is just going to sit out and cool off. Now, you don't want to put this in the fridge right now because since it's so hot, there would be a lot of condensation buildup, and then it would make your food more wet and mushy. You don't want that. So I'm just going to set it aside. I'm actually going to put on a pot holder. It's so hot. Instead of putting it on its lid. And I'm just going to set it on this back counter. Check my soup while I'm back here. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's packed full of delicious veggies. Okay. Simmering nicely. All right. When I was checking the comments a moment ago, I saw one of my friends, Arlene, and I think she's one of the people who originally shared one of those videos about the lady making the rice wrong, and then the other person who was like showing her how to make it the right way. So it's funny that you're watching this now, and then I saw that. Okay, so this breakfast rice, I'm wondering, get another pot holder down. I'm wondering if I can let you see it in this camera. It's kind of hard because we just have a setup here that's, you may be able to see or may not. Okay, yeah, you can see it in there a little bit. So I'm just gonna move the Instant Pot out of the way. And now, so here is the rest of the rice. See how I just did half of it? Isn't that rice perfect? I had a friend in college who was Asian, and I said something about rice. I didn't have a lot of experience eating rice until college. And I mentioned something about rice, and it was just like falling apart. And he was like, I would starve if I had to eat that rice because it wasn't like sticking together. It wasn't clumping, and this is sticking together pretty good. I haven't fluffed it yet, so now I'm just gonna fluff it. I don't know. I hope you can tell how delicious this is. Look at that. It's very hot. But we want to do this next step when it is still hot. So I'll stop messing around. I'm going to turn my recipe page. Now, so if you are not batch cooking and you want to make this breakfast rice, you can do it just like we've done so far, but I would use 2 cups of brown rice, 4 cups of water, because you want this rice to be softer. You don't want it to be like firm like you would want if you were making a stir fry necessarily. And I'm going to grab my rice milk again. And I'm also going to grab my cinnamon and an apple and raisins. Now, years ago, I don't know when this was, early in our marriage, my husband made a sweet breakfast rice like his mom used to make. And after we went plant-based, I thought, oh, I could make that without the dairy and without butter, and it would be good. So that's kind of where this came about. So we have just the rice we just cooked. There's been nothing added to it. It's plain. And I am going to add cinnamon. You could also use pumpkin pie spice. You could use whatever kind of spices you wanted. And just going to take the lid off. I'm just going to pour some in here, but you could definitely measure. We like to be really generous with the cinnamon. Put the lid back on. You could also add more of your ground flaxseed here. And then I'm going to add in my raisins. Normally I put the milk in first, but I just don't want all of the ingredients to get lost in the milk, so I'm waiting. So we do about a 1/4 cup of raisins, or you could use any kind of dried fruit. It's good. My son, that's probably like the pickiest son. I don't like to label my kids, but I need you to know what I'm talking about. I just think he's more discerning. But he loves raisins. So this is a good way for him to have more variety. And he likes breakfast rice, and he likes oatmeal. My other son will eat anything and everything. And then we like to do a diced apple. So I'm going to dice this apple up, and then grab another cutting board. Now, if you don't like apple or you have something else, you can use something else. We are all about making this work with what we have and what we like. Man, this smells good. If you like, you know what, this smells like fall. This is exactly what this smells like. You might as well go get some pumpkin and put it in here because it smells like a fresh apple pie. And I'm just kind of cutting this up. You don't have to take the peels off, but my more discerning palate son would prefer this without peels. So if taking the peels off, this is another bit of practical advice on food and parenting. If you have a kid who might struggle with eating things, healthy things, fruits and veggies, and taking the peels off the apple is the difference in them eating the apple or not, then take the peels off. That's my 2 cents. Because they will get more nutrients in an apple with no peel than they will get in the apple with the peel that they won't eat. Okay? That's how I view things. Okay. And guys, we are getting really close to done with this batch cook. We don't have a whole lot of stuff left. So if you're wondering, I know some of you have had to go. That's totally okay. This video isn't going anywhere. And I don't know that we're going to do another one of these. This is just kind of a special thing for the Next Step Challenge. But who knows? I don't know. We haven't really even thought about what if we'd ever want to do these again. But I just like to cut this into really small little pieces, because if it was big pieces, my husband and I would love it, but our kids like small pieces. I want them to eat this because it's a lot of fiber and it'll fill them up and they won't need a snack in an hour after eating breakfast. But they'll also eat this for lunch. You know, in our house, my kids are 9 and 11. I always forget how old they are. It's okay if you forget those kind of things. I have the kids make their own breakfast and lunch, and they can have whatever we have in the fridge if we have food cooked. They're responsible for making their own stuff that's non-cooked. I have a little printout on the fridge, gives them choices so that they're not really sure. Sometimes it's hard for a kid to come up with a whole meal idea. Have you seen memes where people are like, So nobody told me when I was going to be a grown-up I'd have to come decide what was for dinner every day for the rest of my life. Well, as stressful as it can be for us to decide what's for dinner, you think, oh, a kid would love to pick their own food, but it's stressful for them too. So instead of them having to ask you choices, and you say, well, you can make yourself a sandwich. You can have oatmeal. You can have leftovers. You can do all these different things. I made a menu and I put it on the fridge, and it lists the things they can have for breakfast, lunch, and snack. And we're usually sometimes a bit more involved than dinner. Now, sometimes I'll say, hey, I made you oatmeal for lunch, and they are happy about that. They love oatmeal because we make it like, unlike this breakfast rice to where I'm putting all the toppings in, most of the time we make oatmeal. And I have a recipe or a video we made. We just haven't uploaded it yet for YouTube on how we make oatmeal. But we just leave it plain, and then we fix it up based on what we're feeling that day. So some days we might put bananas and peanut butter, and other days it's apples and cinnamon. Some days we might put pecans, and other days we may not. Sometimes it's peaches and plums. I told my husband he should start an Instagram on all the food he eats because he likes to make some really awesome looking oatmeal. So I'm going to toss these. I actually did drop one on the floor that time. And now let me show you what it looks like. See, it's just the rice, raisins, cinnamon, and I'm going to stir it around. And then I'm going to add the rice milk. And we're adding 2 cups of rice milk. My measuring cup is 2 cups. I don't always usually measure this because that would dirty something else. I usually estimate. I don't know if I'm good at estimating, but I am determined to keep doing it. I'll only get better, I think. So I'm just going to pour this in because we want this to be like kind of soupy. That's how we say. It's harder to see now, but I'm going to stir it around again. And I like doing it in this pan still because the sides are so high and there's less chance of me spilling it. Okay. I'll show you a bit. So, and then we're just going to let it sit and cool, and then we'll store it in the fridge. Now, if you were going to eat it now, if you were hungry, you could definitely do that. You may have noticed I haven't added any sweetener. That's on purpose. The raisins are sweet and the apples are sweet. But I like this with maple syrup. My more discerning palate son likes stevia. He's one of those people who just really likes stevia more than, say, sugar.
Like his dad.
Yeah, like his dad. Bunch of weirdos, but they will put stevia in theirs to sweeten it. And my other son, I don't think he would put anything in it. I mean, he likes sugar, but he's just like, food, where is it? I want to eat it. So this is done. If you do not have an Instant Pot, you can cook the brown rice on the stove and then divide it and make this. Or if you wanted to just make this, I recommend doing a slight tweak. And I have a recipe on my website that has really old pictures. It has not been updated in a very long time. But you just make the brown rice and then you pour everything in and let it kind of simmer around and let the rice soak up the milk that way. And it's so good. So anyway, this is our standard breakfast rice. We normally eat oatmeal during the week, but last week we decided to change it up and we loved it so much we thought we would put it on the meal plan because you probably, even if you are brand new to eating plant-based and you just decided to take the next step challenge, you may have never had breakfast rice, but you probably did have oatmeal. So we want to expand your options. So with the next step challenge, the goal was to find recipes that you would like that may be new to you, might stretch you a little bit. Like some of them aren't necessarily like everyone's in our house's favorite, but it's just a good variety of things. So I'm going to move this out of the way. All right, so far we have done the roasted sweet potatoes. They are done. They are cooled off. If my kids were in here, this pan would be gone. It's quality control. Good stuff. Okay. There's 2 pans of those. We got the brown rice in the Instant Pot. We have half of it set aside for a stir fry. And when we make that stir fry, I don't remember what night it is, but it's several days away in the meal plan. I am going to make it a super easy by just, I bought some frozen veggies, frozen stir fry veggies, and I'm going to use those. And then I'm going to use the rice, and I'm going to use tamari because it's a gluten-free version of soy sauce. And that's our meal. We might cook some tofu because my kids love tofu, but we may not. I'm not really sure yet. We might put a can of chickpeas in just to kind of give it an extra fiber protein boost, but we might not. We don't know. We are not going to stress about it. We're not going to stress about our food. There's reasons to stress. Like if you have life-threatening food allergies, by all means stress. If you are on a specific diet, like for a long time, my son had to eat a low-fat diet because of the complications from chemo caused severe pancreatitis, and so his body couldn't process fat, so he couldn't eat fat, or he was on a 10 gram fat day for a long time. So yeah, that we had to stress about fat, but most of the time we don't need to stress about food. Right now, we don't need to stress about food. We can eat whatever we want. There's no rules that we have to follow. We make the choices based on what's good for us and what we want to do. So the next thing we are going to do is the last thing. Now, since this is the last thing and we are almost done, if you have any questions, you need to ask them, because once we're gone, we are going to put away all the tech. We're going to eat lunch. We're going to play some video games. We're going to hang out, and we will probably be unavailable because it was a busy morning. We're going to be eating because we have a lot of food to eat. I cleaned out the fridge some. We'll have to figure out how to put everything back in. But so make sure you ask them, and we will keep an eye on those. So Wendy asked, does the rice get hard in the breakfast rice when you place it in the fridge? Not really. It doesn't like firm up as much as oatmeal does. I think it's because we add the extra rice milk. But what you can do, and what I do sometimes, is this is how I do it for my kids. Put some in a bowl. I heat it up in the microwave. It's too hot. I pour cold rice milk on it. They stir it around, and it's soupier, and it cools it off. I like my food super hot, as you may notice from trying to eat the sweet potatoes when they were fresh out of the oven. So for me, I might put a little bit of rice milk in there, stir it around, and then heat it up. But when you heat it up, it softens some, but it feels more dry than hard. I don't know if that makes sense. Tell me what you think if you try it. Kathy said she loves using frozen stir-fry veggies because it's so easy. It is easy. Like we like to have fresh veggies and fruit a lot of the time, but that doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always make sense based on your budget. It doesn't always make sense based on where you live, what your situation is, how much space you have. Like normally that's our fruit counter. And so we had to move some of our veggies down, but we had to put all the fruit on the table because I needed it for cooking. But, maybe you have more fridge space and freezer space than you have counter space. Or maybe with your work, you don't know when you'll be able to eat everything. So sometimes just using frozen fruits and veggies makes a lot of sense. And a lot of times they're a lot cheaper. So do what you got to do, make it work. Okay, I'm going to rinse this cutting board off real quick. I will need this a little bit. Clean up this counter a little, put my rice milk away. And then I'm gonna drink some water, and you need to drink some water too. Okay, let me check on this soup real quick. I still haven't put my rice milk away. It's still simmering. It's kind of hard to stir because we did pack it full. I can tell that the peels of the potatoes are separating, so that tells me it's probably done. So what I'm going to do is get a little spoon out, and I'm going to taste test it because somebody's got to do it. Okay. You know what I just realized? I did not set a timer for my baked oatmeal. Typical Holly. That's so me, guys. Oh, those potatoes are done. Check the carrot. I got a really big carrot. I'm gonna taste test it to see if it's soft enough. I'm gonna let it cool off for just a minute. It's a big one. And then we'll move on, but I want to make sure this is done. I'm gonna look in on my stuff in the oven. It looks really good, but I can tell it's still wet. So even though I have no idea what time I put it in, who knows? Jim's a good judge of time. What do you think? 15 minutes ago?
20 minutes.
20 minutes ago? Okay. So we'll say we put it in 20 minutes. So we'll set a timer for 20 minutes. So if you don't know Jim, he can tell you, like, I'll be like, oh, how long ago did this happen? And he'll be like 13 minutes ago. Who knows that kind of stuff? He just has like this really amazing internal timer clock. I have no idea. I'm like, I don't even know what day it is. Okay, so this is no longer like steaming. Oh, that's perfect. That seems done. We're good. Oh, you know what I need to do though? I'm gonna do a spoon. I need to check the broth. Here's why I check the broth. Because this is still simmering. It doesn't quite have enough flavor. I could add more veggie broth mix. I could add salt. I could add more garlic. I could still change it up without having to feel like I need to heat it up again. So I'm gonna let this cool off. I know I will spill it because I'll like squirrel on me here or something. Just, in Arizona, we don't have a whole lot of squirrels where we live, but still, I know you get the point. So I am just gonna let it cool off for a second, and I'm holding this under it so I don't spill it everywhere. That's good. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna turn my soup off, and I'm just gonna move it to a different burner. And then we're gonna get started on the salad. The salad's the last thing. I'm gonna check to see if any of you have any questions. I'm going to give you any final closing thoughts about this, and then we're gonna be playing video games soon. We're gonna be wrapping it up. Okay, that is off. Now, we will probably be finished before the baked oatmeal is done. And even though I forgot to set a timer, I realized maybe you forgot to set a timer too. Maybe you went ahead and set one when we mentioned it, but if you walked out of the room, you might have forgotten. So we may not be here still when this oatmeal is done. So set a timer now for, say, 15 minutes to check it. You're gonna know it's done if it looks a little bit brown. I feel like the edge is brown more than the middle because it retains more of the liquid. But it will look done. And remember, there's no edible products in there. You're not really worried about it being cooked enough. You're not going to get sick from it. So I'm going to get all my ingredients out for a salad. Oh, I want to talk to you about the salad first. Now, we don't normally, Jim's laughing, so I'm pulling on my pants. All my clothes are too big because I can't go shopping because, you know, we're kind of in quarantine and all the fitting rooms are closed anyway, is what I heard. I don't know if they still are, but yeah, I don't know. Can't order online. I don't know what size I am. So for the salad, eating a big salad is a great way to get more veggies and fruit because we like to put fruit in our salad. I don't eat a salad every day, although I probably would, but I feel great when I have salad. And I kind of have a base salad, and it is whatever kind of greens we have, which is usually I'll buy bagged lettuce because it's just easier. I want to simplify my life as much as possible. When our budget is tighter and sometimes you have to balance between time and money. It's just kind of the way the world works. So if you have more time, you might want to buy like all the lettuces, like big heads of lettuce. If you have less time and you can afford to buy the bag, you may want to do that. it's up to you. And I have a blog post on like helping keep produce to last longer. It's, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but something about letting produce last longer. I think keeping produce fresh is what it is. And I talk about how we wash lettuce when we buy like the head of lettuce, how we wash veggies, and then how we store them so they last longer. Normally we will buy the bagged or like boxed spinach and bagged lettuces. And then every day when it's lunchtime, because now that we're both working at home, we get to have lunch together almost every day. I'll say, do you want a salad? He always says yes. And then if I'm making one for me, I make one for him. Our kids also love salad. So they just are discerning about what they have on their salad, but they love it. So I will get big serving bowls. Like, let me show you what these look like. I just now saw a sticky note. This was my reminder for the sweet potatoes. So we're done with that. Okay, I operate with a lot of notes everywhere, all different sizes, small sticky notes, like 5x7, and then like legal size, lots of stuff. So anyway, these are our bowls. This is our cereal bowl. It holds 2 cups. This is our serving bowl, also known as our individual salad bowls. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I'm guessing it's like a 5-cup. And so the difference, this is a side salad serving size. It's a 2-cup bowl. And this is what we normally eat. Even if we're having other food, we'll normally still have a really big salad. So when we're making our salads, like for lunch, that's when we have them a lot of the time, we will, I'll pour in whatever lettuce we want. And then I grab a cucumber, because right now I'm about to prep one that we're going to have all ready, because even though we don't normally have it like this, I think it'll be helpful for you if you are new to this and you're just like, I just need to have things ready to go. So I'll grab a cucumber, I'll like cut it in half and then slice it up and we'll split it. If we have a big tomato, we'll split it. If they're like kind of the smaller than a Roma, then we will just each have 1 tomato. And then based on what else we have, maybe we'll cut up some carrots. Maybe we'll cut up a plum. Maybe if we have strawberries, we put strawberries. Jim likes to put the nuts like pecans and walnuts and stuff in his salad. I like those, but not in my salad. I don't like that texture in my salad so much. I like bell peppers. Jim doesn't, so maybe I'll put bell peppers in mine. But basically, we just mix it up based on what we like. And then usually we'll also be like, okay, well, if this is my main meal, I need it to fill me up more. So I'll grab some beans, or if we have leftover sweet potatoes, I'll put sweet potatoes in it, or just whatever we have. We just put all kinds of stuff. So even though we're going to make a base kind of meal plan salad today, you're still going to want to add things that you like. Now, if your family is like, well, I don't like that kind of salad, you can easily change it up, because even though we're wanting to eat plant-based, we realize that not everybody's family is on board with that. And so an easy way you can make it to where it's more accessible for them is like, well, maybe they put ranch and cheese on theirs and they still feel good. They're still eating some veggies. I'm not saying that's like a health food salad, but it's a salad that they'll eat. And every exposure they have to fruits and veggies is good. Even if they end up not liking it, it's good for them to get the experience and to try it. And we don't really put a lot of pressure on our kids to try more fruits and veggies. One loves almost everything. But we like, you can try it if you want, but you don't have to, because I don't want to turn food into a power struggle. I don't want to turn mealtime into something that is going to cause conflict. So I definitely leave room for them to have some say-so in what they eat, because kids don't always get a lot of control on what they do in their life, especially right now. Like one of our sons wants to go to school, but he is doing online school. So this is just a way you can give them some control. And then with our son, our more discerning food son, he has made great strides in choosing for himself what he wants. And I think it's just because of our strategy of letting him kind of take the lead on that. So anyway, I'm going to get out my ingredients for the salad. Put these away. Okay, if you check out the blog post about keeping produce fresh, I talk about how I normally store salads. And like I have a big container and I will like put a paper towel or like a terry cloth towel in there and change out every few days because that will help keep the moisture from turning your lettuce mushy. Just check. Okay, so I'm not going to do that today because I only have so much room in my fridge. I am going to show you the lettuce I normally buy because I don't hate me because these have so much plastic, but I normally do an Italian style bagged lettuce because it has a lot of options, but I also love baby lettuces and like butter lettuce. This is open. So weird. Probably popped open during coming here. So this is a baby butter lettuce and this is baby spinach. And we like to just kind of mix our lettuces together. And so since I don't have just a ton of storage things today, I'm going to mix them together in these and leave it in that. So that's just what's going to happen. But I'm also going to chop up our cucumber. And like I said, I normally keep the cucumbers whole and just add it at that time. We also have carrots that we have already washed. If you want them to look prettier, you can peel them. But if you don't care, then it doesn't matter. And can you wash these for me? I also have grape tomatoes. Now, I do like tomatoes in my salad. I'm not the biggest tomato fan, but it's just more plant variety. And if you have heard me talk about the book Fiber Fuel, I love this book. I recommend it for everyone. It's very easy to read. I read it in like 4 days. And it talks, one of the main takeaways for me was it's not about eating a certain food, like a certain miracle food. It's about having, you can sit here. Thank you. No, that's okay. It's about having a big variety of plants. And so Dr. B, the author of the book, said that if you can eat 30 different plants in a week, then you're getting good variety. So even though tomatoes are not my favorite, I put tomatoes in my salad every time because it's just more variety. And it's a red food. Like if you're trying to get more variety, trying to encourage your kids to eat more, eat the rainbow. And this is a red food that we can add to our rainbow. So I have a rainbow veggie pinwheel recipe on my blog. And I think was it Joanne maybe in the group? I'm not sure. She said that she just, instead of making it into pinwheel, she just makes it into a wrap and that she loves it. So it's a good way to get more colors of veggies because you can use tomatoes, red bell peppers. You can use cucumbers, carrots. Like we're getting a lot of different colors here, but just make it based on what you like. So for this salad, normally I have some little brown tomatoes that I love, that I actually do love, but I can't get those all the time. I can't get them right now. So since this is a meal prep salad that we want to last several days in the fridge, we are going to make it with grape or cherry tomatoes. And we are not going to cut these because once you cut them, the liquid will come out and things are going to get mushy. But they will be good like this for a few days. So my lovely assistant, Jim, I was careful not to call him any of my fun little names because then everybody who's watching that like goes to church with us would be calling him those names. So I will tell you one funny story is like I normally call him Jimmy. And then when other people hear me say that don't know him, and they're like, "Oh, Jimmy," and I'm just like, look at him like, "No, you can't call him that." Like that's weird. So like, but I have more fun names that I won't share. But anyway, so we are using these grape tomatoes. So now I'm going to cut up the cucumber. I get my medium-sized knife. It's like a mini chef knife, and it's our favorite. Just cut the ends off. I like really thin. I actually like kind of like uneven cut cucumbers. Jim likes really kind of big. So I'm just going to do kind of a happy medium. And and just, you do it how you do it. A lot of times I will peel it. I prefer it without the peel, but since this is going into a meal prep salad, I'm going to make it easy, because the whole point of meal prep for us is not about making all of our food for the week so we don't have to cook again until the next weekend. It's not about focusing on saving money, although you definitely can, because you know what you're going to eat and you buy only those ingredients and you don't waste as much food. For us, it's about self-care and taking care of ourselves. So if I'm having a really busy day at work, because Jim and I both work, I would say outside the home, but we're working from home. But yeah, we both have jobs that we report to. And if I'm having a really busy day, which this month has been super busy, when I'm done working, I don't want to come in here and cook usually. Like, then I help the kids with school. Then after I get off with that work, I'll work on my blog. And I don't also want to spend an hour cooking. So for us, having these recipes, this batch cooking stuff done, helps to take care of me, because I know, okay, I have a salad. If I'm exhausted, I can come in here and grab that and be fine. And I'm just going to cut these in half again because I like them a little bit smaller. And then in addition to that, like, if I want to eat that delicious black bean sweet potato salad, I don't have to be like, oh, it's 6 o'clock now, I need to cook sweet potatoes. And, I'm like, oh, I already got those ready. I just open a can of beans or get some beans I pre-cooked, put all that stuff in with the salad I already have made, and then add some corn or add whatever else, add some avocado. And it's super easy. I'm not having to take a lot of time. So during the week, I don't want to spend as much time cooking. I like to do it. Mostly we do it on Sunday afternoons because we can do it and spend time together. But right now we're just doing it this way. So that's one of the reasons that why we do it this way, so that we don't have to cook everything during the week. Also, it's about having access to food. So Thursday, I took off Friday because I had a lot of stuff to do to get this batch cooking and the challenge ready. But Thursday was the first day of the challenge, and I also worked that day, and I had to do extra work to make sure I wouldn't need to work on Friday. It was just a busy day, and there were definitely, like, I work for a great company, I have a great boss, but my kids were doing school, and it was just like stressful trying to get everything done. And that would have been a day like a year ago that I'd have been like, forget it, we're getting takeout. Or like, go get me a bean burrito from somewhere. So maybe it would have been plant-based, but it would not have been like a healthy version of it. Or maybe we'd have just been like, forget it, I need fries. Who knows? But instead, I knew I had food, so I ate what we already had. I ate good plant-based food, and I felt great. Because here's the thing, some people can eat plant-based and they feel wonderful and they feel great. Others, it might take them a while for their body to get used to it. Like, maybe they've never eaten that much fiber in their life, and their gut's like, no. Like, you gotta ease into it sometimes. And some people can eat plant-based, and then some days they go back and forth to eating, the standard American diet, and they're fine, but not me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm turning 40 this year. I don't know if it's what it is about my body, but if I went to McDonald's and got like a burger and fries, I would be so sick. I would have like muscle spasms in my back where I couldn't function for 3 days. I would have migraine. I would feel sick. It's not just like, oh, my tummy doesn't feel good. Like, my whole body is not able to function. I just can't do it. So I hope you don't have those kind of problems, but if you do have a lot of chronic pain, eating plant-based definitely may help. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't have medical experience. Well, I have a lot of experience caring for my son's medical needs, but I'm not a doctor. I don't have degrees in this. I just know that I was able to get rid of chronic pain because we switched what we ate. And also, like, a year ago, I would have so much back pain that I couldn't cook for an hour and then clean up and be okay. I would have back problems, and I might not be able to do anything else for a few days. And the change came when I got stretches from my doctor, Dr. Hill. He's the best chiropractor. And also I just cut out all of those kind of iffy foods that I've been eating that I shouldn't have been eating. And now I feel so much better. So that's just like a little extra bonus story you get. But because of that, knowing where I was a year ago, where I was in chronic pain, I wonder where you could be a year from now. So some of you watching, some people that are in the challenge, a lot of them in the challenge actually have put in the Facebook group that they are, like they've been plant-based for 5 years, 10 years. Sid Nodder, who has a great book called The Plant A Diet, she's been plant-based for like 30 something years. And she said it wasn't always like super healthy plant-based, but now it is. And she's a great resource. Oh, that's our big baked oatmeal. Let's take a look. And I'll get back to the story. Ooh, that looks good. Okay. I'll get my pot holder. I'm going to scoot the salad stuff to the side just for a second so that you can see the oatmeal. Got my trivet. Isn't it cute? Okay. I just realized I have a carrot on the floor. All right. Can you switch to the other camera? So this is our baked oatmeal. It is heavy. That's why I call it the big baked oatmeal. It ain't little. And Jim is switching it so you can see it. Okay. It's glorious. It's beautiful. You can see the burst blueberries. You can see the apples. It's nice and lovely brown. This was made with no oil, no nuts. It has seeds, you can see around the edges. Well, you may not be able to see. This is a webcam, so we're not like doing professional grade equipment here, but it's a little bit brown around the edges. When we're done with the salads, I might try to cut it so you can see what it looks like inside. We'll see. It's best to wait till it cools off, but let me move this back over. Okay. Take off my pot holders. Turn off my oven. Turn off your oven. And get back to cutting. So, I don't remember where exactly I was in our story, except for, kind of do. We'll get there. So think about where you want to be, what affliction you have. Maybe it's something that eating plant-based can help with. You know, maybe your doctor can help. I don't know. But I know that between the two of us, I have found relief from interstitial cystitis, bladder spasms, chronic back pain, inflammation, headaches, migraines. I used to take ibuprofen every day for headaches, like a couple times a day. That's not good for me. And I couldn't figure out what it was. It was the food. That's the thing that changed, is the food. That's what Dr. McDougall says. It's the food. So maybe something can help for you. For my husband, when we first went plant-based, he was on medication for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, asthma, probably a few other things. But within a couple months going plant-based, he didn't have to have any of that. Even his asthma medicine. Like, that sounds crazy, right? But it's true. It's true for us. And then this most recent time, and I have a video kind of explaining all of this on YouTube, but more recently, he was having, like a year ago, pain in his hands to where it would like hurt for him to, probably would have been difficult for him to help cut this stuff up. It's kind of like a arthritis type of pain. And now he feels good. He feels so much better. His hands feel great. So really it's life-changing for us. And I don't try to tell people generally, I guess I'm kind of waving that flag now, but I generally don't try to convince people to go plant-based because I don't feel like that's my strength. I feel like my strength is helping them actually do it. So, there's a lot of really smart people who can tell you all the scientific reasons to go plant-based, and definitely listen to them. I'm not that person. I can just tell you what happened to us. And on Facebook, a few weeks ago, I asked people, if you've been plant-based for a while, what's some of your biggest successes? Because I was just curious, since like Jim and I have such a big range in what has helped us or what we have been helped from. I thought maybe other people have the same thing. And so like Pamela commented that she was able to reverse her type 2 diabetes. That's incredible. That's incredible. That's life-changing to not have to like always worry about what your sugar levels are at. Like I can't even imagine. And then Tina had mentioned that she had an autoimmune disease that was attacking her kidney, and she had lost so much kidney function. Her doctor said there was no way to regain it. Like that's just lost. Let's worry about the autoimmune disease and see if we can help with that. But after a few months of ditching junk food and oil and animal products, she was starting to regain her kidney function. I mean, who knows where she'll be in a year? I mean, can you imagine? I was saying, oh, that reminds me, Jim had his eyes checked yesterday, and they said his distance vision was getting better. His close-up vision's getting worse, but hey, take what we can get, right? Shelly is someone else who had commented to share kind of where she was now after going plant-based. And she said like the biggest change for them was with her husband, because he used to have epileptic seizures, and now they're so much better. Like that's incredible. I don't know how that works. I'm not a doctor. Our bodies are just amazing, and it's amazing how things change based on what we're eating. I guess that should make complete sense, but I don't know. And she said they also have better anxiety or less anxiety, and they sleep better, which is so cool. So I am going to get back to cutting and try to cut and talk. I'm going to cut up a few carrots, and we watched these already, but you can buy carrots. The meal plan says to shred them, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to chop them because that's easier. I have a food processor that could shred them. That will take more time to dish out, find all the parts than I want to. So I'm just going to cut these. You know, another person who commented on that post and told me what had changed for them was Michelle. And she said that her and her husband together have lost 100 pounds. And she said they weren't even trying to lose weight. To me, that's just incredible. You know, most of the country needs to lose weight. I know I'm still there. I don't ever focus on losing weight. I focus on eating foods that aren't going to make me sick. And I've lost weight this year, which is cool. I need some new clothes though. But she said, you know, they haven't missed anything really when it comes down to it, because they're feeling so much better. Their health is better. Their only problem is they wish they would have done it years ago. And I think a lot of us are in that same boat. So if you are needing some help, maybe you just need some encouragement, you know, join our Facebook group or, you know, find a friend who's plant-based. A lot of cities have plant-based support groups now. I know there's one here. I haven't gone to it, but it's definitely worth checking into for your area, like Plant Pure groups around or other whole food plant-based groups. Just search plant-based in your town or city or the nearest big city to you and see what you can find. Also, you know, search Google, search Facebook. If you have like a health food store, you can ask them. Because a year from now, you can have a whole different life. I have a whole different life than I had a year ago, because I couldn't have stood here for over 2 hours now and cooked all of this and been okay. I mean, I did my stretches this morning. I've been drinking my water, but I couldn't have done that before. Okay, so as I mentioned, we don't always mix things together. I can tell this lettuce right here is kind of wet. I'm gonna put a paper towel kind of on the bottom of it. You can also use any kind of little towel that'll fit. And I'm just gonna like lift this up carefully. And I'm just gonna stick this in the bottom. That's gonna absorb a lot of that. And I'm gonna put a handful in. Throw in some cucumbers. I'll put this over here close to this little camera so you can see it. Jimmy, can you switch to the little food camera? Okay. I can hear my son in another room eating an apple. We had him take apples because he can't really go this many hours without having food, without having an apple. Okay, so far this out, I have some of the lettuce. I have some cucumbers. I'm adding in some carrots. I'm adding in some tomatoes. I've got spinach right here. I'm gonna put some spinach on. This is a little random piece of something else. And then I know that there's a lot of moisture in this and I want it to last. So I'm just gonna stick another paper towel, or you can do any kind of towel. Now, again, you can use a different container. I just don't have that much room in my fridge because I'm about to put granola bars in there, breakfast rice, other rice, and a giant pot of soup. So I've got to conserve my space. Okay, and then I'm just gonna do it again. I'm gonna make room. I'm gonna grab some salad, some lettuce, spinach. I'm just mixing it together. More. If you're gonna eat a salad today, just grab whatever bowl you're gonna use and put some in there, and then you'll have it. And I'm gonna put some lettuce. Oh, you know what? Caroline said that Plant-Based Physicians is a great website. Yep, that's definitely another way. There's a lot of great resources out there. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, Dr. Barnard leads that, and they like certify instructors so that they have people all over the country. And so you can search their website and find someone in your area. Maybe get a group of people together that they can come talk to you. Okay, so I'm gonna just stick this lid on now. This is like several servings of salad. This is probably like 2 big salads or like 4 or more servings of like individual side salads. And this is still pretty full. I'm gonna put something to absorb that moisture in there in the bottom. So I'm just gonna kind of dump this out. Don't worry guys, I had cleaned this counter this morning because I knew it was gonna be very busy today. I'm gonna put that in there. I'm gonna grab a whole bunch of spinach. A long time I didn't like spinach, but now I'm just on a spinach kick. My daughter said that she doesn't like to eat her spinach, so she makes smoothies. And I say, good job. You get it in however you can. She lives far away from us, so we talk on the phone about food a lot. Okay, so I just added more lettuce, cucumbers, carrots. Now, this week, since we have these, we're definitely going to eat them. And what we're probably going to end up doing is we will pull these out, put some in a bowl, and then we'll be like, ooh, what else do we want? And then we'll grab a plum or a nectarine or a peach, and we'll put that in. Strawberries, blueberries,
walnuts,
yeah. Because we like to have a lot of different choices, a lot of variety. And I have a list of websites on my website, My Plant-Based Family. I have our favorite salad dressings that are super easy to make, and my husband really likes the raspberry vinaigrette. So if you are needing salad dressing, look there. I'm going to get back in our big bowl. I'm going to be eating this soon. I had oatmeal for breakfast, and I'm going to have a salad with lunch. Okay. So there we go. There's put some tomatoes. I'm not used to using these, so I forget. All right. Now we've got plenty of salads for this week. Other salad dressing options is if you are trying to eat oil-free like we are and you don't want to use traditional salad dressing, you can switch the thing back if you want. We will use hummus, thin it down a little. I love to use salsa if I'm using like a Mexican-inspired meal where I'll put in beans or corn or different things like that. And salsa is a great option. I will use avocado, and once it kind of gets mashed up, it seems very dressing-y. Guac is really good. We had our oldest son and his girlfriend over for dinner like a week ago, and we've had such a hard time getting good avocados lately. Like, they look perfect, but they taste like paint remover. They're just gross. I don't know why we can't get a good avocado. So I bought some like store-bought guac, and I've been using that for salad dressing all week. It's really good. So, okay, how about for the last thing I do, since we're about to close this up, I'm going to check one more time on the questions. Oh, you know what? Michelle mentioned Wellness Forum. Wellness Forum is a great resource. Michelle, I love Wellness Forum because when I first went plant-based, at that time I was having a ton of bladder problems, and I reached out to my friends. I'm going to make this long story really short. My friend Alicia told me that her mom, Eileen, was a health food educator and that she could help me. So I called her, she helped me, and she taught me what to do. But she said, for more information, take a class at the Wellness Forum. So I signed up, I got video lessons, and Dr. Pam Popper is amazing. She, that's kind of where I got my foundation in what to do to eat plant-based. And I am grateful for that. I feel like Dr. Popper is not talked about enough because she's a wonderful resource. And I feel like part of the reason is because she's so busy helping people, like in, I think, Ohio, that she's not out doing all the touring and stuff that some of the other doctors are doing. But definitely Dr. Popper is wonderful, and look into the Wellness Forum. So thank you for mentioning that, Michelle. All right, so I am going to cut open those oatmeal bars, and then we are about to get the heck out of here. So I need to put my pot holders back on real quick. I kind of wish you guys could taste some of this. I used to do tasting events at my house. If any local people are watching this and you went to one, you can tell them how good it was. But I would basically cook like a giant spread like this, and then everybody would get to taste some. Okay, I am going to cut a piece. It's a little moist still. I normally wait till it cools off. There. Let me get a plate. Okay. Take a look at this. It's so good. The blueberries are just bursting. Let's see if I can get you a little closer. I can't figure out which way to go. Ooh. Yeah, it doesn't do it justice. But it's like, it kind of almost looks cobblery inside, but not that gooey. But it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I'm not going to smell it, even though it smells good, because I look like a weirdo. Earlier. Okay. Okay, guys. We will check the comments later, and we will definitely answer any questions that come in. You can, oh, you know what? Jim just put in the group a link to Eileen. Oh, and so Michelle did too. Yeah. So Eileen, the one who helped me, she has a program. It's like a monthly membership, I think, where it's called like the Move Without Pain Club. And it can help you overcome chronic pain. I did not take her class. I actually watched a video, like she has an intro video that you can watch that shows you a lot of the exercises to do. I did watch that, and it was excellent. And you should definitely check it out. If you have pain, check it out, because Eileen is such an amazing resource. Talking about where I would be a year ago, almost 10 years ago, I think it was 9 years ago when I went plant-based, is all because of Eileen. She showed me a different way that I didn't have to live in pain. I didn't have to be stuck home because I was having so much health problems that I couldn't function. I couldn't move. I couldn't leave my house. I could be pain-free. I could live a full life. And now here I am. I've cooked an hour and a half. And
2.5.
Oh yeah, 2.5 hours. That's a long time. We actually don't always do it like in a big marathon like this. We'll like do a couple things and then hang out, and then we'll come back and do a couple more. So it's not always this big thing, but you're only getting me once, so we did it all together. Anyway, so we are gonna sign off now. If you are in the challenge tonight, we are eating the soup because it's gonna be delicious. And then you can check your info pack to see what comes after that. So here's a picture of the dinner. that we're having with the sweet potatoes. You know, you can't really see it, but it's in your info pack. One other thing that my husband reminded me is that if this video is helpful, please like it, and I will add, please share it so that other people can hear about eating plant-based. Maybe they've been having issues and they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know if they had any other options. Let them know they do. So that would be great for us. We'd appreciate it. And so yeah, tonight we're gonna eat soup. It's gonna be delicious. Tomorrow we're gonna have the salad with the sweet potatoes. Monday we are gonna have the quick and easy stir fry. Tuesday's gonna be soup. And then Wednesday we have easy Mexican casserole. And yeah, so have a great day. Have a great weekend. Drink your water. Eat well. We'll see you next time.